I'm Dr. Anthony Mattis, and this is my wonderful, beautiful friend.
Hi, I'm Joakim. Nice to meet you guys.
So we wanted to have this call, Joakim and I, because we wanted to basically introduce ourselves for those of you that don't know us, and talk a little bit about how the telecall kind of came about. And so I'll go ahead and I'll start first, Joakim, if that's okay. You know, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Anthony Mattis. I've been a holistic chiropractor for 16 years. I'm also an Access Consciousness certified facilitator. And I've been in Access for about almost 4 years. And when I started Access, I basically was coming out of a major tragedy in my life. My wife had committed suicide. She had struggled with manic depression, also known as bipolar disorder. And at the time, our children were 10, 8, and 2.5 years old. So, you know, needless to say, I was on my knees asking God of the universe, you know, what now? Where do I go? I studied every modality under the sun at that point, had a guru. I was non-denominational Christian. I had certifications in metaphysical studies, breath work, you name it. And nothing was really working. It certainly didn't save my wife's life, and it certainly wasn't creating my life beforehand or even after. So when I learned about Access Consciousness and the tool, especially with regards to the bars, I got my children involved right away, and it's completely changed my life. 4 years later, I'm now traveling the world doing ESP sessions, work on Gary and Dane, Dr. Dane here. And so I got to meet this beautiful man in the summer at a 2 and 3 in Stockholm. And Joakim and I just felt a connection right away. And we knew that there was something special between the both of us, but we didn't really know what. And sometimes in men and with Access, and really in the real world, or this reality, I should say, not the real world, there's a lot of competition between men. And so instead of men being vulnerable and lowering their barriers and forming a bond or a connection to make things greater, we tend to create the separation from each other, and we look at each other as like competition or like the enemy. And so when I met Joakim and some other people in Stockholm, I didn't have that experience. If anything, there was an invitation. So at the 7-day event in Costa Rica, just about a month ago, I guess, Joakim and Dane were in the men's room, and they were both hugging each other, having a great, you know, bromance bonding moment. And I walked in there and I decided to rub their butts, and sort of like, you know, rubbing a genie bottle, you know. And I'm going to let Joakim talk to and let him share his experience with the whole situation. But so, you know, Joakim was expressing how like the energy of the room, because Joakim's a healer, I'm a healer, and we were working in the back together, and we just felt all this energy that wasn't moving. And we were perceiving a lot of judgments and projections and rejections being thrown at us and the people who were in the back of the room working. And Joakim was like, I want to change this. It shouldn't have to be this way. We're here choosing consciousness, and it always seems to be this separation. And so Dane goes, hey, do you guys want to have a session right now? And we're like, well, yeah. So we went over to Dane's tables, and as some of you may know, he does sessions with groups of 4. And it happened to be 2 other beautiful men that were with us, David and Hannes. And so make a long story short, during that session, it was for me personally, and Joakim will talk about his experience, it was one of the most profound ESB sessions I've ever had, because I'd never done it with a group of men, because in most Access classes, not that many guys to begin with. But during that section, what I perceived was this oneness that took place. And whatever it is that makes us men or not men or women, that all went away. It was like our beings were like interacting with each other. And, you know, I don't know who was crying. I don't know who. I was laughing like a mad scientist for the first time in my life. Normally I'm all drama and trauma, crying, breaking down. But for some reason I was cracking up. and then I'm hearing someone crying, and then I hear the guy behind me sounded like he was having great juicy sex, and it was wonderful. And then I don't know. So all this was going on, but it was beautiful, and there was no separation. And at the end of the session, I was done. I sat up, but I noticed that Joakim was sort of going through whatever he was going through, and Dane had asked me to put my hands on his feet, and I did. And I heard Joakim say, "I feel so alone. I feel so alone." And in that moment, I felt like I got this download from the universe that was like, "You're not alone. We're not alone." And then what I did was I reflected upon the time I was a little boy, and I felt so alone as a boy or as a man, because I didn't fit this reality's version of what a man or a boy should be. I wasn't tough. I wasn't rugged. I cried a lot. I used to watch sappy romantic movies and stuff like that, and then when I got older and I got into high school, I would talk about, I thought I was gay maybe because I was sensitive. My dad called me a sissy a lot because, I wasn't a well-statured kind of guy, and I couldn't pick up the garbage to take it outside because I wasn't strong enough. So, my whole life, this reality would say, "You're not a man. You're too small. You're not smart enough." Or, you would see signs on the highways of the Marlboro Man with this big cowboy hat and this beautiful beard, and he was all macho. That wasn't me. And so I was very confused for a very long time. So in that moment, I was like, you know what? It's time to stop making this reality's point of view of what being a man means. And it's time to step up and be who I am, because I know that who I am and who we were on those tables was oneness. And in that moment, whoever we are and whoever we choose to be in this reality can change and shift anything. And I just felt total complete communion with the guys on the table, with Dane, and there was no separation. So I think one of the guys may have been gay, we may have been straight. None of that mattered. It didn't matter. I felt nothing but what I would say the word love or gratitude and oneness. And in that moment, I felt so empowered that whatever took place can move and shift anything in this reality and wherever you're stuck. So we wanted to create this call, this telecall series, as an invitation for guys just to be who you are, not according to this reality's point of view, but according to what's your point of view of what being a man is. So it's sort of an invitation to be vulnerable, to be who you are. We want to create a safe haven for you to ask questions, and we'll do clearings to just create sort of like almost like a brotherhood of like, hey, you know what? We got your back. You're not alone. And whoever you choose to show up as in this reality, we're not going to judge you just because it's different. So that's sort of my point of view and why I wanted to create this call. And I know that the energy that Joakim and I share with one another, it's something that's possible for all men. And when we can have that as men, we can change this whole planet. So that's my 2 cents. Go ahead, Joakim.
Wow, that was really well put. It's like you got it all in one long sentence. No, but serious, that was really good. Wow, I've basically had the same experience growing up as you had. I've always had the feeling that I was different. Always felt like outside from whatever group of people that I were with, from the very beginning of my life, I think. And then to fast forward everything, I started Access 4 years ago. I actually put a demand on the universe that I wanted to be in the best relationship you got, or I was totally fine with not doing relationships at all, because during that point in my life, I was so fed up and I guess so okay with being alone, because I've tried being a man in this reality, and that just didn't work for me. I tried different relationship, they didn't work for me, and so I just decided to do something different. And I yeah, during the when you and I came up with this idea, I actually got married with a universe actually listened, and it got me the best woman in the whole wide world. So I also got married during that time. But uh, so yeah, this is like no one's no one's ever told me, or but there's nowhere where you can find uh, how can I say it? Like, there's no way you can find where to be a different man, because it seems to be in this reality that there's only one type of man, or that you can be. There's no one actually talking about something else. And during that session with Dane, which you were referring to, I was having a really hard time, like, because I was like fighting. I was fighting all the barriers that I experienced in my life, so I can open up and go through that and just let the all the judgment come, because I was so fed up with trying to fit into this reality, because I know there's a different reality that we can choose, and different opportunities. It doesn't have to be this way, that there's separations between men. It just shouldn't be. There should be oneness, no matter if you woman, man, child, whatever, old or gay or not gay or whatever. I don't know. This just it's just stupid. We should be like one, like just like we experienced after that session, that there were no barriers between man and woman, and man and man, and women for at least a while.
Right.
So that I really, so my hopes is for us to actually create something that can be a contribution for a lot of other people, and just create more space so we can be the man that we truly be. And there is, now is the time, because the world needs us.
Yeah.
It doesn't need more separation, it needs more oneness. And that's what we, at least we need to try to be an invitation for that.
Yeah, exactly. And we asked the question of whether or not we wanted to include women on this call at the same time, and the call is going to be available to women when we're actually done, because we do want to use this also as an opportunity for women to sort of get into the world of understanding humanoid males, and because so often they're not used to receiving men like us, because they were also raised in a way that the type of guy that they should be with fits in this category or box, and as you know, we don't fit in that box. So then when we finally show up, in our case, in a woman's world, it's like they at first don't even believe us. They think that we're almost like liars or not even real. So I know throughout my life, it's been hard for women to receive me because of the way that I was. And a lot of times they're like, this can't be real. No guys are like you, except for like maybe like in the movies, and the movies aren't real. And I'm like, no, I'm here. I'm real. I'm sensitive, and I want to hold your hands, and I want to look into your eyes, and I want to set the candles up, and I want to be there for you. It's not, I don't want to control you. I have no interest in that. And these things go on too in relationships that are not heterosexual. You know what I'm saying? There's different roles that take place within those relationships as well. So, but we wanted to make the call available to women after, so that the men can actually have an opportunity to just say whatever it is without no feeling like they have to say something because they know women are on the other line. You know what I mean? And so we wanted to create a space for guys just to be guys, whether we're straight, whether you're gay, whatever. Um, even when I got into the working force, like I struggled financially, basically most of my professional career. And again, what shapes a man? Well, being able to take care of his family, being the breadwinner. That's what this reality says. And if you're doing anything less than supporting your family, well, then you're not a man. But what if the woman or your significant other or insignificant other, what if they're the breadwinner? Why is that a wrongness?
Yeah.
You know, Gary says humanoid men are actually the nesters. We could actually sit back and take care of the home and make it a comfortable place for the women and children.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. This it's like sorry, I got distracted. My cat wanted me. So obviously there's problems for cat as well. Cats problems too. She listens. No, but it's like in relationships. There's all these codes or there's things in relationships that needs to be changed as well. But
Yeah.
as you said, Anthony, we want to start with men first, and then go from there, and go talk to women about relationships, because there's, I mean, let's face it, it's hard to have a really good, whatever good is, but have a good relationship nowadays. It's because it's like, just like we don't know how to handle a relationship, because everything is new, because there's like no one tells us how to do these things, and it's just like yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, where we're told how to do these things are from this reality's judgments of how we're supposed to do it. And what if every relationship was unique to itself? What if it was just like a blank canvas, and every relationship, no matter what the relationship was just an opportunity for those two people to create it in whatever way that works for them. So what works for you and your wife may not work for me and whoever I choose to be in relationship with, and then for the next couple, so on and so forth. So what if there were no supposed tos? You know, what if it was at the end of the day just a matter of what works for us? What's going to make us happy together? What can we create together that will actually exhilarate us and bring that joy in our life and our living in ways that we could never have ever imagined? So these are some of the things that we want to create the space for, basically men, and then for also women to have the awareness, or their significant others to have the awareness of what's going on in our worlds and in our reality, so that you can actually receive us in ways that you've never been able to receive men before. So that's part of it too. And then just clear out all the judgments, the projections, and the expectations of what men are supposed to be and or do in this reality. But it's like, what can you and I together create to create a safe haven for when men join this call, and whoever chooses to participate, to literally create a different reality within this reality. You still with me?
It's it's this, it gotta sink in, because there's, you know, this is so much what I wanted to create. I just wish there were more people that could hear this, but it will eventually. But
yeah, they will. Yeah,
because it's these kind of things, these kind of questions, and it's this is what we need to talk about.
Yeah.
I so wish that, you know, when I grew up, that I could that I could have had this conversation about how to what how do you want to what type of man would you like to be, or like what would you want to create from what you are and what you know,
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of trying to fit into something else.
You know, most of my life until I found Access, I realized that I was trying to be a man based on everybody else's points of view of what being a man was.
Mm.
And I felt like I was dying. Every day I felt like I was dying. I walked around with this grumpy face all the time, and I was never really happy unless I was drinking or, you know, smoking pot back in my day, for me
Mhm.
personally. And so it was like, once I realized that I don't have to create my life according to somebody else's points of view. And it wasn't even people, it was maybe institutions like churches and religions and whatever, synagogues or whatever. Like, this is what you should be as a man. And when I realized that I've been functioning from that point of view and it wasn't bringing me any joy, I'm like, you know what? This has to stop. Because if I had 10 seconds to live my life, would I be living my life based on somebody else's point of view? I'm like, fuck no. Fuck no. I'm going to live my life according to my reality, not fucking somebody else's. And I'm like, I'm done because it's killing me. And my part of my wife dying was like, when she died, I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm done. Because being in this body, it's temporary. Right? So I'm not wasting any more time. I don't know about you, but I don't want to waste any more time. And this call may not be perfect or this Google Hangout, but you know what? We're putting ourselves out there, man. And it's like, here we are. What can we all do together to start creating our lives right now, living in 10-second increments, regardless of how everybody else thinks we should be living it? The time is now to live our life. Bam.
Mm. Well said. Well said. I like the intensity. Yeah, because I yeah, I've just had the feeling all my life, not being like trying to be something else. It's just that I got that I was different, but there were no place for me. I saw the other people, they were doing crazy stuff, and I just couldn't do it. I just like you, I tried, like I try to get drunk and I try to have sex like
Yeah.
others do, and but it just didn't work for me. It's like, okay, so I was seriously preparing living my life like by myself.
Yeah.
But I was so glad that I found Access, because then I just but it was a shock for me because
Yeah.
people were so different. So I'm like, wow, you guys are more spaced out and than I am. Like, so
I'm glad you brought up that thing about the sex, because that was another thing too. It's like, when I
mhm.
wasn't in a relationship or monogamous relationship, I had to make sure that I was having sex with as many people as I possibly could, because if I wasn't, that somehow that was making me less of a man. And I
Mm,
remember having conversations with my dad. I would actually call him and I would talk about like these women that I'm sleeping with. Like, somehow that was my way of bonding with him,
mm,
you know, and because, you know, I wasn't very interested in fishing or going hunting and all those types of things, and always getting drunk and all the time. You know, it just wasn't me. But I felt like I wasn't a man if I wasn't having sex on a regular basis, you
mm.
know. And so it was amazing all the things that I would do to make myself feel like a man, but yet at the same time, I came away feeling worse about myself than before.
Yeah, exactly. Like an emotional hangover.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Totally. And I remember even my group of friends that I would grow up with, you know, I would talk about the difference between making love, let's say, and fucking somebody. And they would sit there and they'd make fun of me and tease me. They'd be like, "Oh, you're so gay, you know, I can't believe it, blah, 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 there's no difference." And I'd be like, yes, there is. There is a difference. The energy is totally different. And,
yeah.
and I just get teased over and over again. And it's like, I wasn't willing to stop being myself, but at the same time, I wasn't willing to outcreate this reality's points of view either. So I was sort of stuck in this like world of no worlds, And I was just unhappy. I'm like, okay, well, I'm never going to outcreate that. Maybe that is what's real. So I'm going to kind of sit here floating in outer space alone by myself.
Mm.
And then I realized, especially with Common Access and meeting a guy like you and maybe one or two other men, like Dane especially is another guy. And it's like, wow, I found my people. You know, this is pretty cool. It's like, I get you, you get me, and it's like we can be who we are, and there's no judgment, but if anything, there's just total complete allowance. And it's like, and I'm able to be around gay men without having a point of view about it. You know, and I never really had a point of view about it, except for when I was young and I was really confused, like, am I gay? Because I can't fix a flat tire. I can't fix anything, you know. You know, it's like I'm weak and small and sensitive, so does that make me a gay person? You know, and then I come to realize, I'm like, well, gay people are all different sizes and shapes. There's some pretty badass gay guys out there that could kick your ass, you know. So I guess that didn't mean that I was, you know. So I was so confused for so long, and I had no identity. I was lost in this world, and so you know, using the tools with Access and, you know, and hanging out in different places, I finally was like, you know what? It doesn't take much. And even doing in the ESB sessions, when I would work on a man and a woman, after a while, I would realize that I don't even know who the man or the woman is. I was just working with the beings. And I was like, this is beautiful. And that's what we are. We're infinite beings. We just have a body that says man, woman. You know what I'm saying? But we're really, truly infinite beings. And like Gary says, we've been everything. We've been everything. And so I'm grateful for the tools of Access Consciousness. And as I said earlier, you know, this is an invitation for men to kind of just get on this call. Let's clear those things that have kept you from being all of you. And, you know, what would it take for you to show up in this world in all the ways that you knew was possible, but for whatever reason you couldn't quite get there? You know, what would it take for you to feel empowered as a man?
And but like the first time I met you and Dane, I must admit that it frightened me a little bit. So it's okay to get scared, because what I'm trying to say is that like, because this has never occurred in my life, that I feel this connection with another man, and so I get excited by it. But it can also be, I couldn't misinterpret it as I were afraid of it.
Yeah.
So because
it's about being vulnerable.
Yeah,
so everywhere where you and I are unwilling to be even more vulnerable and be the open wound, can we both destroy and uncreate that?
Yes, please.
Cool. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So this is the willingness for us to be willing to receive everything. Everything. The good, the bad, and the ugly of who we are, who the rest of the world is, and being able to be that vulnerability with one another, but at the same time exhort each other to whatever else is possible.
Yeah. Because it's what I noticed is because I'm also doing, as you know, body work and healing and that sort of stuff. What I notice is, after a while, when I work on a woman or a man, after a while, when I drop my barriers and they drop their barriers, then there's no limitations of what we can do. And it's like you say, there's no, I'm the same energy as they are, and we are completely one.
Yeah.
But that, I wish to have that.
Yeah.
All the time with anyone. But as soon as anyone gets up and we start to put our brain back into the conversation, that's where it gets fucked.
Right.
Because
and that's where the tools of Access come into play. And that's where, you know, we need to continue to get our bars ran so that the limitations in those blocks begin to dissolve, so that we can get to that space of oneness with everything that this universe has to give. That you know, doing ESB sessions, running clearing statements, that like what we're going to do on the call, running different clearings to create that space and unlock those energetic blocks that have held us in bondage for probably multiple lifetimes. So that's where the tools come into play, because we're not always going to be in that space of oneness, even though it's available to us all the time. So when we start to feel that separation, it's like utilizing the tools on a regular basis. You have to be willing to commit to that, to utilizing the tools, because the tools, for me, are the most powerful tools that I've ever come across in the 16 years that I've been a holistic chiropractor. And I was a technique junkie. You know, I sought out one technique after the other, after the other, after the other. And these tools of access not only provide the hands-on tools, but also the verbal tools as well, to really unlock those things that most modalities can't. They just can't get to those spaces and places. They just can't. I mean, I haven't seen it. And I can't say I've tried every technique that exists in this world, but I've friggin' tried a lot. And I put my family through a lot of financial debt trying to find that magic formula. And what's beautiful about Access, it's like there's a plethora of tools available to us. So when we start to feel that separation, that's when you get your butt on a table, you reach out to a friend, say, hey, can you run my bars? Hey, I need some verbal processing. You know, use the tools in the foundation and level 1 class. You know, the basics, just the basic tools of Access will change your entire life if you're willing to use them. But it's like retraining yourself. You know, so that's what we're going to talk a lot about on the call that we do together, is just utilizing the tools to literally create our lives so we're in oneness more often than not, you know? So.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like we're going to walk around like being high on oneness all the time, because crap's going to happen. I mean, but it's like you say, it's important to ask questions around these sort of topics, because it's once you just buy into it, you get stuck. It's like I made a experiment with that this morning, and if I wouldn't had start asking questions, then I would still be stuck in that particular subject or whatever. It's really asking questions and lower the barriers and just breathe with it, and really use the clearings and bars.
Cool. Well, listen, man, it's Thanksgiving here in the United States, so I got to get back to my family and kids. But I just want to thank everybody who's joined us on this Google Hangout. And Joakim, thank you for your time. And I'm really looking forward to doing this 4-part tele-series. And for all you men out there that choose to do the call, like I said, we really look forward to your contribution and all the different energies that will show up for the telecall, because it will really, we together will create the call, and it will create the space that's available to us to go beyond whatever we even knew was possible. And so we're really looking forward to doing this class. I believe it's January 18th. And we'll be sending out some information with regards to the specifics of the call. So thank you so much, my friend. I love you. And talk to you soon.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.